if kit doesn't matter, why do pros use expensive kit? There's some good reasons for this. Some of them, it's going to cause some upset. And I want to make it very clear that what I'm saying here is not some weird flex for pro photographers. It's just the facts. So please don't take it personally, but there is a very good reason for it. And it's the same. I always harp on about you do not need high-end kit. And then I go and do a shoot in 150 megapixel phase with all the broncolor lighting, which is a bit of a contradiction. So let's look into this, because there's a few reasons, and they all do make perfect sense, and I still stand by the fact that kit doesn't matter. You can turn up to a shoot with a 5D Mark II and Godox lighting and do a bang-on job. It'll be great, the photos will be fine, there probably won't be a problem. But I'm a commercial photographer, and commercial shoots are expensive. It is not uncommon that they are north of £150,000 a day. That's a lot of money. Now, there's a few things within this. Now, that is not my take home. Let me just make that abundantly clear. If it was, I wouldn't be dressed in old ratty... Well, no, I probably would be dressed in old ratty clothes, let's be honest. But maybe I'd get someone to cut my beard so it's not lopsided. But there we go. So, we get paid a lot of money. We turn up on set. And let me just make this really clear, because there's a lot of misunderstandings here. See this whole studio here? Don't use this for commercial work. This is my man cave. This is where I go to hide. This is where I go to avoid washing up. But this is where I come. This is where I come 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, when I'm not shooting. But when we're on a job, we tend to be in London in a rental studio. And this is very important. And yes, air freshener. And yes, medium format cameras, broncolor lighting in here. That is not for jobs. We turn up on set and we rent the best camera for the job. Money be damned. We rent the best, the absolute best. And the best has diminishing returns on it. The top of the line phase 1 back on a phase 1 camera or on a Cambo MV with digital lenses on it is a bit better than a 5D Mark II. Not miles, not life-changing, not we couldn't do the job without a 5D Mark II, but it's a bit better. We're getting paid so much that we'd better be a bit better. It's also very reliable. They also live in rental houses, and we can rent 2 of them or 3 of them for the job. They're £900 a day for a phase, so we'll rent 3 of those. It's already a lot of money, I know what you're thinking, but it's even more to buy it, and we might not need it on the next job. We might need something completely different. Sometimes we rent a Sony because they have really good high shutter burst rate things, and we want to do like stop motion really quick, like burst mode stop motion. It's a look, it's an aesthetic, and that's the tool for the job. So we rent some of those, and some really expensive Otis lenses. Lighting wise, we need the best lighting, the perfect lighting. The last job we used broncolor because we needed the broncolor modifiers. The job before that we used Pro Photo because we needed a hard box. The job before that we used broncolor, and so on and so forth. We will rent either broncolor, Pro Photo or Breeze if we've got bags of money. And we will use the best tool, and we will use the best tool for the job. Money be damned. Because Godox lighting, absolutely, you can shoot when I shoot with Godox, but sometimes the colours go a bit funny. Sometimes the output isn't accurate. Sometimes, and this is sometimes, not very often, sometimes they stop working. And always, you can't rent them. And I'm not lugging my kit to a studio in London because that's a pain. If I have to bring the entire equipment in a van myself, that makes no sense. I'll turn up, we'll use the rental house, 8 AM my assistants open the shutters on the studio in London, the rental house is outside with the big trolleys full of kit, they roll it in, there it is. And some of you are going, oh, you can't trust rental house kit. They send backups. Rental house kit gets ragged, it's like a rental car. You better believe we plug those lights in at full power and start smashing them all day long. We don't worry about it. Not like here, we're like, ooh, let's just do a couple of low power flashes so we don't rag the bulbs and packs. Let's not destroy the capacitors. No. Full power, cold, straight in there. Much like driving a rental car. Foot to the floor, let's see what happens. And they are better. The light is better. Broncolor lighting, I find, is the best for still life. I think Pro Photo has its benefits for portrait work for sure, but broncolor for still life is the best. Best color accuracy, best flash output accuracy, best build quality for what we do, best modifiers for what we do. It's perfect. So you've got your phase and you've got this, and it's the perfect setup, and it's expensive. Often we'll have over £500,000 worth of kit on set, like retail value, not rental value. That'd be insane. And we have that kit because we're being paid so much to get it perfect. We can't fix it in post because well, we can, but we can't fix, like if you've got 3 Godox lights and the white balance is slightly off on all of them, you fix it in post. It's not a problem. When your retoucher costs as much as a top retoucher does, you don't want to be wasting your money on that. It is cheaper to have good lights. Likewise with the resolution. You don't need 150 megapixels, but when they're cutting it out with a pen tool, because everybody does at the high end, the more resolution you have, the easier it is for them to cut it out. That's important. Everyone's like, oh, you don't need 16-bit colours because you can only export at 14. Yes, but when you're editing at 16-bit and you've got those extra colours, which makes editing easier and therefore cheaper, because retouchers, good ones, are very expensive. Very expensive. And their time is added on. Every time you don't get it right in camera, every time there's a technical fault with the image, every time you've got a colour shift in lighting, or you've done a focus stack that hasn't quite worked, you've done it with, without using a proper built-in XF camera stacking system. All of those things cost you more money in post than they would do in camera by renting the right kit and having perfect kit. Now, this is making assumptions that you're doing a £150,000 shoot, you've got a retoucher on an insanely hourly rate, and you've got all this crew and all this money to throw at it. If you're doing a job for £5,000, Godox it. Canon 5D Mark II, 100mm 2.8. If we get small jobs, and we do small jobs, we do them here. We don't go to London, we use this kit here. Do I need Broncolor? No. Do I need my medium format Fuji? No. I have those things here because this is where I do my personal work and I use a retoucher. I have these things here because I like to know that I understand how the lighting packs work that we use on set. And now that is a very expensive nice to have. And this is where it gets a bit awkward. I've made so much money that I can afford to have nice to haves. And that was only this year I bought this stuff, or end of last year. It's not like I've had it for years. I've been doing this for 15 years. After 15 years, I was at a point financially where I went, do you know what? It's a nice to have the same kit at the studio as it is on jobs. Let's buy it. It's a nice to have a medium format camera in-house for test shoots. Let's buy it. And these are nice to haves. And it's because I've been working for so long at the level I do that I have the cash to buy a nice to have. They're not necessities. Last year, we did small jobs in here with a 5DS and 40-year-old Broncolor lighting and Godox lighting mixed together. Because that's what the budget had, and that's what we had, and that's all we could do. At the same time, we did other jobs on Phase 1 IQ 150s with XF bodies, the blue ring lenses, and the top-of-the-line Broncolor lighting. I've got the budget Broncolor lighting. I've got the uni lights, which are I say budget, they're £2,000 a head, but they are the budget lights. And I've got the Scoro E-Packs, which don't have the third port, and they're like how much are they? Like £8-9 each, whereas the top line ones are 11-12 grand each, something like that. There's a few £1,000s difference in between it. I've got the budget ones, but we rent the best ones. But it's good to know how they work, and it's nice to do that, but it is a nice to have. And it's a real difficult conversation to have because it sounds like a flex going, I've got so much money from last year that I could buy some nice to have stuff. But also what I don't want is people seeing me using this stuff and going, you can only work at Scott's level if you have that kit, because that is not true. You do not need that kit. When you get a big job, you rent it all in. The only people who own all of that kit either have a studio in London where they rent it out in the days in between to make money back, or that's the only reason really, because it doesn't make financial sense. It just doesn't. And I know it doesn't because I've ran the numbers and gone, is it better for me to have all this kit in here, rent it to myself and take it to London? It's not really worth the hassle, to be honest. And at some points in some people's career, it might be. There might have been a phase if I'd have bought this earlier on where it would have made sense, but then I didn't have the cash earlier on to do it. So I certainly wouldn't have made sense to take a loan out to buy it to do that. And these are all things that you need to consider in photography. The business side of it is very important, but you don't need this stuff. Like the softbox I'm using here is my first ever softbox I ever bought 15 years ago. It's a Bowens one. It cost me £190. And I still use it today. Like, kit lasts a long time. There are better softboxes. If I was joining YouTube today, I'd probably watch a YouTube video and everyone uses that aperture light dome. But this is good enough. Does the job. I don't remember, my microphone's 15 years old. I'm sure those who are audiophiles can go, yeah, sounds it, but it gets the job done. You don't need to spend all this money. And the only reason pro photographers use the best kit is because rental houses stock it. And because that extra money you get paid makes it worthwhile. The kit in here, It's for test shoots and stuff, you know. Some of it's a bit old and a bit ropey. All of it is secondhand. All of it. There's not a single brand new item of kit in here. I've never bought anything new for here because this is nice to have stuff. This is stuff for fun. This is the test shoots, the creative. Yeah, it gets used on YouTube videos as well sometimes, but that's not why they were bought. But it's nice to have stuff and you don't need it. You know, that I had that Godox AD 1200, is it? The pack in the head. Brilliant bit of kit, great bit of lighting. I wouldn't use it on a £150,000 shoot, but I would use it on a £5,000 shoot. You know, it's all about what you're doing with it. The quality, you know, some of the best work I've done is on cheap jobs. Some of the worst work I've done is on expensive jobs because the creative just doesn't seem that great. You know, I just don't like the creative on some of them. You know, we just shot a huge campaign actually, which is very good. I really enjoy it. Some of it's in my portfolio already. And that was a massive job, huge budget, massive, you know, there must have been like 20 people in the studio each day. And we shot that on the 5DS. It was the last shoot I ever did with them actually before I got rid of them to move to Fuji. But we shot it on that because we couldn't get enough phase ones into the budget to make it safe to do. So we used the 5DS. And you cannot tell the difference. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.